Students, today we are going to discuss about the topics in Unit 1. Broadly, we are going to discuss more in detail about cell, cell cycle, organelles of cells, cell division, cell differentiation, stem cells, and its application. So we are going to get through this detailedly so that you can able to understand it easily. Before that, we'll start with understanding what is the definition for a living organism. When will you call a living organism? A living organism is defined when it is made up of complex unit of physiochemical material. Physiochemical material means it's not one single material, it contains a complex chemical material. We'll be discussing that in the second unit when we discussed about biomolecules. And this should be capable of self-regulation, metabolism, and reproduction. If it is a living organism, it should demonstrate the very important properties, which is an ability to interact with its environment. It should grow, it should move, and very importantly, it should adapt to the environment. It is a very basic aspect about living organisms. What are the main characteristics of organism? If you call it as an organism, it should have some main characteristics. What are they? One, it should be made up of cell. Any living organism you take, that will have cell as a basic functional unit. And it requires food. That means a living organism should consume. Mostly the consumption of food is for energy production. The third important characteristic of an organism is it should reproduce. One organism should become into two. It may depend upon the type of organisms, where if it is a prokaryotes, it will undergo binary fission so that one bacteria will become into two. If it is a complex organism like eukaryotes, then it will undergo a very important process called as mitosis. And the fourth point is it should also undergo homeostasis. Any imbalance, any change to the internal environment. It could be a pH change, it could be a temperature change, or it could be a food carbohydrate level change. Whatever it be, it should rebalance, rearrange itself in such a way that homeostasis should take place. And more importantly, all the living organisms will be organized in a well manner. It should also respond to the environment, and it should also exchange material with the surrounding environment. What are the exchangeable material? First, importantly, water. You cannot see an living organisms living without water. Second, it should also exchange gas. So these are the main characteristics of an organism. Right. Now, coming to a detailed understanding about cell, we call it as basic unit of life. Smallest living form. Inside the cell, some structure transport will be there, and the cell should capable of metabolize, respire, reproduce, multiply. It should also produce energy, and it should also keep information, store information. Let us look at what is prokaryotes. Karyotes refers to a nucleic acid or a DNA. Pro refers to a false nucleus, an organism carrying a false nucleus. What I mean by false? This organism does not have a proper nuclear membrane. As you can see here, all these are all nucleic acid, but it does not contain a nuclear membrane, so that it does not present in one single place, but it is present throughout the organism. So we call it as prokaryotes. And it should be surrounded by a cell membrane or cell wall. It contains ribosome, but there is no membrane for the ribosome. So this is how a prokaryotes will look like. And coming to eukaryotes are an organisms which has true. What do you mean by true nucleus? And this eukaryotes examples are plants, animals, fungi, and protists. This type of cells when compared to prokaryotes. Now we'll discuss about structure of cell and its function. First, let us understand what is organelles. Organelles are structure with a defined shape. They are very small, usually microscopic, various functions. Usually, organelles perform a specific function and it is found in cytoplasm. And there are certain organelles which are membrane bound, and there are certain organelles which are not membrane bound organelles. Animal cell and a plant cell. The first organelle that we are going to understand is plasma membrane. This membrane, you can see that there are two layers of, and we call it as, so these two layers are made up of phosphorus, and this controls what enters and what exits out of the cell. For an example, small molecules or non-polar molecules like carbon dioxide across this lipid layer. But if you take a lipid or a nucleic acid, then through this to pump ATP across requires a, you can see the pump will also be there. And you can also see an integral protein wherein this protein can also see a transmembrane protein, that is on one side of the membrane you have this protein. So we call this organelle as plasma membrane. Next is cytoplasm. As such, we cannot call this as an organelle, but this is the intermediate space that presents between the cell nucleus and the cell membrane. What it is made, and it provides a medium for a chemical reaction. You can see this all this orange color stuff, and this cytoplasm is present in animal cell as well as. We are going to discuss about a very important organelle called as nucleus. So what is nucleus? Nucleus are an organelle which is present in the center of the cell, which contains an important one of the biomolecule called as nucleic acid. So this nucleic acid is DNA, and this DNA is compressed chromosome. So we call that as, how we, it also has a nucleus, and this membrane has a pore. We call it as nuclear pore. And we also have something called as nucleolus. Inside the the DNA here. And apart from that, we also have something that is seen here. This structure is called as nucleolus. A cell may have one, two, three